Welcome to Is Franchising Right for You? With your host, Rick Morgin. Through each episode, we'll demystify preconceived notions about franchising, both entrepreneurs franchising and those buying a franchise. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Now here's the host of Is Franchising Right for You? Rick Morgin.
Welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you
Rick.
on the show. It's an honor, a privilege. And, I thought, the title of this podcast is about franchising, but beyond that, generating business, effective business, really comes from referrals and referral sources and how to do that. I consider you the expert, and I'm just wondering, how did your business, the Referral Navigator, come to play? How did you develop that and why?
Well, thanks, Rick. Started out in law school and business school, so a JD MBA, and then worked for some broker dealers and investment banks. And I learned a lot about business development through referrals. I was trained by Citigroup and American Express, two really big companies. And then at one point, American Express Financial Advisors, where I was working, they hired an outside consultant on referrals. And I thought he provided great training as an outside consultant to a very large corporation that had a lot of internal training on referrals. And that's kind of where the idea was planted in my mind that I could be like that guy. So I originally was the guy receiving the training from an outside consultant, and then eventually became a leader of advisors, and then a leader of trainers of advisors. And then in 2009, I started my own outside consulting practice. So that's really how it got started.
Well, that's great to hear. 2009. So this is your 15th year in business. Congratulations. Fantastic. So those listening, whether they're prospective franchise owners or franchisors or business coaches or real estate professionals, they're going to want to know why referrals are so important and how can they effectively generate them and create those solid relationships that will last and improve both sides of the business, right?
I think so, yeah. So when you're thinking about your business and you're thinking about referrals, the sort of very obvious one that's front and center typically is we want to get a new customer. So you mentioned real estate as an example. I was just talking with a real estate professional earlier today. So a real estate professional certainly would want to take, let's say, a buyer or a seller that they've already worked with, their client. Let's say their client is John Doe, and get that client to give them more referrals to new prospective clients. They also may have a relationship with a professional. Might not be their client, but that person, let's say Jane Doe, who's, let's say a financial advisor. Jane can also be a great referral source for them for new clients. So that's the sort of obvious one. Clients and professionals can both be referral sources for your business. That's going to apply to the vast majority, I assume, of your audience. Then there's another type of referral, which is for the team itself. So let's say you have a real estate firm and you've got, you're the broker and you've got 10 agents and 5 support staff. So that's 16 people. Where are you going to find that 17th person to join your team? You can put out an ad for a job posting or maybe contact a recruiter. But from my perspective, and I think most would agree, that they'll probably find the next person to join their team better through referrals as well. So whether you're trying to bring on a new client, compare marketing to referrals I think are better, or you're trying to find a new team member, that could be through some form of marketing or referrals are better. So those are my areas of subject matter expertise. How could a company use referral relationships to bring on more customers, clients, or people to join their team?
Now, not every client may be comfortable in doing the outreach to generate referrals. Is that part of the strategy that you work with clients that you probably can tell right away So this person's going to get referrals right away. This person I kind of got to coddle a bit and teach. Does that kind of describe a client relationship and how you may nurture them to be effective in generating referrals?
So let's say somebody is thinking about hiring my company, the Referral Navigator, as their consultant. Where I can more strongly recommend that they hire me is if they're already doing a good job generating referrals. They're already getting referrals to new clients on a regular basis. They're sitting in the audience now listening to this and saying, well, that's me. I get most of my business by referrals already. That's the person that should probably be more likely to hire me. They've already got evidence that they're referable because they're getting referrals. The person that I can still try to help, but just between me and you, Rick, I'm not as able to help, is the person that's not already getting referrals. If they're getting all their business by marketing and they're not already getting referrals as an important part of their business, something's wrong with the way they're operating their business. And I'm not the person probably to help them to fix that. Another way to say that is, if you're very referable, then hire me and I'll help you get more referrals. But if you're not already referable, you probably need to fix the way you're providing your product or service so that you can be referable, and then we can work together to get more referrals.
Well, I was thinking about maybe a team, a team of, let's go back to the broker and agent. Let's say one broker and half a dozen agents, just to pick a number. And 4 of the agents are really good at getting referrals. The 2 aren't, but they're all part of one team trying to build this business. So would that be a good client for you to have? I mean, are those 2 agents that need to strengthen the referral mix? Can
Really
you do that?
Really great question. Thank you so much for that. And the specificity I like. So you've got the one leader. He'd probably be the one, or she'd be the one to hire me. And then he or she has a team of 6 agents. And we assume the leader wants all the agents to generate more referrals and better referrals, because the team leader knows this is the most cost-effective way to get a new client. The clients that we find by referrals are going to start with us faster, stay with us longer, generate more revenue, generate more profit. And the clients that we find by referrals are more likely to refer us. So that should probably be at least in the back of the mind of the leader before they hire me. They got to be a believer. And if so, they've got 6 agents, 4 of them are really good at getting referrals, 2 are not. It's usually more on a spectrum. It's not yes or no. It's more, you got your best one, your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth best. And so one of the ways that I would encourage that leader to think about engaging with me is not to hire me to help the 2 that aren't good. It's to hire me to help the 4 that are good get better. And let's let the 2 watch. Let's let the 4 participate. Let's train and coach them to be even better. They're already successful at generating referrals. That's the person, or those are the people that I can work with the best. The owner will get the highest return on investment from the time and money they spend in hiring me. Mostly time is their big investment.
Sure.
If they have me work with the 4 that are already the best and let the 2 watch. And the internal people will be the leaders by example. In other words, don't hire me to lead your 2 people. Hire me to facilitate a conversation where someone is leading the way.
Oh, excellent point. I didn't think of that. I didn't think of focusing on the strengths, which will lift the tide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's powerful. I'm going to throw something out there. You teach referral strategies. You must live by them. So your business, your clients come through referrals. Does that mean you have a very lackadaisical or wide open work week? Or tell me how you operate your business.
Thank you. Yes, the vast majority of my new clients come to me by introductions and referrals, as you guessed correctly. My work week is, I'll divide it into 3 parts for you, big picture. 30 hours a week consulting, 5 or 10 hours a week doing 3 and 4 way calls, and about an hour or two moderating events. Let me explain the three. So the consulting work is, so let's say you, Rick, are my client. We're going to have a meeting every single week where we spend an hour together. And that's where I'm providing you with the strategy, the tools, the training, the accountability, the encouragement, the organization, so that you can generate more referrals from your clients and other professionals. And if you're the head of a real estate firm and you're the broker, then it's not just me and you in that hour each week. It's going to be me, you, and those 4 or 6 agents as well. That takes up about 30 hours of my week every week. All my clients meet with me at least 1 hour a week. Some of them will meet 2 or 3 hours a week, especially if they have a larger team. Somewhere between 5 to 15 people might meet 2 hours a week. Somewhere 15 to 25 people on the team would work maybe 3 hours a week, so we can have some individual touch points as well. So that's my main work, the majority of the time that I'm working each week. Then I also do about 5 or 10 hours a week where I'm moderating 3-way calls. In fact, I just literally got off one of those 3-way calls right before logging in to speak with you here. So I was working with the client and one person that's a great referral source for him. And I helped the two of them to talk about each other. What do they know about each other's strengths? Have them talk about each other's businesses rather than their own. Have them talk about who they know is important to each other. Who do they think makes a good referral source for each other? Who is already a good referral source for each other? What groups and organizations they're a part of? And inevitably, and I mean almost every single time I've ever done these, they're going to find some gaps. Even if this person who's my client, let's call him John Doe, and Jane, this great referral source for him, have known each other for decades, there's still room for improvement in their referral relationship. So I'll uncover that during that 3-way call. And then those 3-way calls can lead to sometimes 4-way calls. So it might be me, John, my client, and Jane on the first call. That's 3 of us. And then on the next follow-up call, it might be me, John, Jane, and someone that John would bring to introduce to Jane. Now we've got 4 people, and I'm moderating that conversation. I'm not there as a lecturer or a consultant or advisor. I'm there to moderate the conversation and get them talking about each other's referral relationship. I'll have AI taking notes on the call, my assistant taking notes, I'm taking notes. So we have a really great follow-up email from that. And there's more opportunity. So that's about 5 or 10 hours of my week. And then the last part is usually an hour or 2 a week where I'm moderating events. So let's say my client, John Doe, in this example, maybe once a month or once every quarter, he might want to host an online virtual event where he can invite either his clients or prospects or other professionals, depending on what type of work he's doing, who he wants to invite, what type of format he wants. There's lots of different ways, of course, to moderate an event. And then I act as the moderator for that discussion. So I'm there, and I've done that about 2,500 times now over the years, where I act as the event moderator for those type of meetings. So that's basically my calendar. And you can tell I get to meet a lot of new people in that process.
Absolutely. Moderating 2,500 events over the years you've been doing this, that's an incredible number. What I'm getting is that whether it's a group as a client or you're moderating a smaller group or even one-on-one, you're driving and driving the importance of accountability, right? That's what makes the process of getting better at referrals and maintaining that relationship successful is one's own accountability and their accountability to you as their coach. Is that accurate?
That's good. So coaching, I would say, is one element of what I provide to a client. So let's say, again, John Doe, he's this real estate broker who hires me. Coaching is the part where I'm going to say, all right, agents, what are you going to do next week? And then I come back the following week and I say, what did you do? That's accountability. And that is very important. To be honest, though, Rick, that's really the easy part of my job. There's not much complex about being a coach. No offense to all the coaches out there, but being a coach is simply, what are you going to do? And then what happened? Accountability is coaching. It's a very important element, but is the most simplistic part of my work. The more advanced and complex part of my work is the psychology of the referral relationships. So if John has Jane as a referral source, what's her personality style? It's going to be different how he gets referrals from Jane, whether she's amiable and wants to be safe, or expressive and wants to be recognized, or a driver and wants to think they're in control, or an analytic and wants to think they're right about the decisions they're making. So now we're talking about personality complexities, and it's much more advanced in terms of the strategy for each individual referral source that John has. They're each different people. So that's more complex. Back to your earlier point, though, in the question, absolutely. Accountability is huge. So I'll give you two recommendations. One, something someone shouldn't do, and one they should. Don't hire me as your teacher to teach you how to get referrals. We're already setting it up to be a failure, because then you're going to be this good student and get an A+ in the class, and then nothing happens. You learn something. That's nothing for business. If you're going to hire me, don't hire me to be your teacher. Hire me because you want to be held accountable to actually implement these things that we're going to implement. That we'll have this meeting every single week. You're going to hire me, and from the very first week, you're interested in implementing these ideas into real life for the rest of the work week. That's the kind of person that should hire me, not someone who wants a teacher, someone who wants to implement and be held accountable.
So is there a rule of thumb on the number of referral sources one may try to have and maintain those productive relationships?
That's a really good question. There is a rule of thumb, but I want to clarify, as I think your question made obvious, it really depends on the specific person. I'll give you an example. A real estate agent, like we were talking about earlier, their work is essentially business development, right?
Right.
Finding the buyer and then the seller is the job. The relationship development, the referral development is the job, essentially. Once someone wants to buy the house, of course, they have to do that paperwork, but that's not the part that a real estate agent will tell you is the hard part of their job. It's finding the buyers and the sellers and making that happen. So, but I'll give you another example. Let's say we've got Jane Doe, who's a commercial litigator. She might find a client and then work for 3 years on that case, 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so a very small part of Jane Doe's life is business development. So the answer really is it depends. How many referral sources does someone need depends on how much time they logically have available for business development. In this example, John has a lot more time for a lot more referral sources than Jane does. Depends on the type of work they're doing as well, just using legal as an example. One person, John, might be a personal injury attorney. He needs a lot more referral sources because you never know who's going to be injured tomorrow in a car accident.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whereas Jane Doe is a corporate transactional attorney. She might have 2 or 3 really good accounting firms as her great referral sources, and that can provide her work for the rest of her career. So the answer, unfortunately, is it depends. I'll still give you the rule of thumb, though, even though the real answer is it depends. For a normal human who's trying to do business development in a significant way, wants to generate more referrals, 10 to 100 great referral sources would be sort of a couple goalposts. You could say if you got less than 10 referral sources, that's probably not enough. If you've got more than 100 great referral sources, then you're not probably paying enough attention to them. That's just a rule of thumb.
Oh, thank you. And I see your point about it depends on the person and the work they do in the industry they're in. And great distinction between the real estate agent, the injury attorney, and versus a commercial litigator. Now, let's say I've got an objective. I'm going to be studious and overt, and I want to generate more referrals. I'm going to do it. What are some of the mistakes I could make? I mean, it's just, running out there and saying, oh, hey, you can refer me. Can you do this? What are some of the mistakes I could avoid in trying to incorporate this practice of business development into my repertoire?
I just did a calculation earlier today because I've been doing this as an outside consultant for 15 years. Let's say I'm doing it 30 hours a week. I think it was 22,250 hours that I've been paid to give advice about business development through referrals. Just made that calculation earlier today. So one mistake, sounds a little flippant to answer your question, but I think it's true, is one mistake would be do it on your own. just sort of figure it out on your own how to get referrals. No, I think a good idea is to have an expert, someone who can help you with a strategy and a tool to use. Another mistake would be to not have a written strategy. Just say, I'm just going to think about what I'm going to do to get referrals. I'll just put it in my brain. No, put it in writing. Have an actual written plan that addresses your strengths and goals and concerns and what your action plan is and where you want some more help. Another mistake that people make almost always is they don't utilize their CRM or a spreadsheet as effectively as they should. You're going to get referrals from these 10 to 100 people. You're going to try to keep all the information about them and their pets' names and their kids' names and the groups they're a part of and who they refer to and who they get referrals from and when's the last time you. That's way too much for, in my mind, even one person, let alone 50 people that are your referral sources. So underutilization of a database to capture information about your best referral sources, to rank and prioritize them and to capture information. Another mistake is they don't track their activity. They might track, like, let's say a commercial litigator for his law firm. He's going to need to track new client acquisition. How many clients he got last year? He'd probably definitely know that. How many hours he's billing? He has to know that. How much money he generated? He has to know that. But what about the activity that led to those referrals?
Mm-hmm.
How many people did he talk to last year? How many introductions did he make? How many times did he tell a referral story? How many times did he ask for a referral? Those types of activities are almost always under tracked. So getting a simple tracker in place versus not tracking, that would be a mistake that can be easily fixed. And then the last one I'll share is a lot of the people that I work with are intelligent people. I consider myself intelligent. A lot of my clients are way more intelligent than I am. And that's a problem, meaning that because they've got this gift of gab, they feel very comfortable talking about their work and they've been experienced, they are referable, that they don't feel like they need to write down what to say to people or what to ask them. And I think that's clearly a mistake. Why don't we write down a list of 100 different things that you could ask people and tell people, and then prioritize and reprioritize that list? And I bet you my client John Doe would benefit by having in writing what they can ask people and what they can tell people about their referral stories. So those are a few areas. No business plan in writing, not using a CRM, not tracking their activity, and not putting in writing the questions to ask and the stories to share. And I do help my clients fix all those 4 problems.
That's incredibly important, the structure of a referral strategy that you just outlined as part of the things that may not happen every time somebody tries to integrate generating referrals into their business development activities. Now, I just have one final question, Jeff. You've conveyed a tremendous amount of information. Are referrals lists sources that 10 to 100? Is it fluid? Can those numbers or those names change up often or so?
So let's say John Doe hires me today and we make a list and he's got 2,000 contacts in his CRM. We're going to go through and we're going to rank them first, A, B, C, D. How much time should John invest? The A's would be the people that would be the top ranked referral sources. And as I mentioned before, maybe somewhere like 10 to 100 people that are the A's. And then it may be a little bit larger number of the B's. The bulk of the 2,000 contacts would probably be C's. And then unfortunately in life, he's probably got a few D's in there, people that he doesn't even want to make sure not to talk to, basically. So those rankings, if we fast forward a year from today and they're the same rankings, something's wrong. That is absolutely a red flag. How could it be that a year from today, all of John Doe's rankings for who he should invest time into are exactly the same as they were a year ago? So not only, to answer your question, can they change? They inevitably have to change, because John's going to get some new people if he's doing this right?
Right.
Not only do you want your goose to lay a golden egg for you, in other words, your referral source to give you a referral to a prospect, but you also want your geese to introduce you to other geese. So, if the attorney in the example earlier was getting referrals from an accountant, of course, you want referrals to prospective clients. You also want the accountant to introduce you to other accountants, for example, or bankers or other attorneys in other practice areas. So your list of your best referral sources absolutely should be changing. somebody that you think is an A today, well, you keep putting energy and effort into them and they're not reciprocating, they're not open, they're hard to get a hold of. They don't seem to have the referability that you thought they had. They don't seem to perceive you as valuable as you hope they would. You're going to have to re-rank them, maybe down to a B and focus less energy, or down to a C and put them on the back burner. Or if they do something unethical, of course, or immoral or whatever, problematic, maybe down to a D. But the rankings, to answer your question briefly, yes, absolutely, they should change.
Whether you're someone who's experienced is probably knows the answer, but someone who's starting off as integrating into their business development activity, how conscious should they be that this referral relationship really has to be a two-way street? It's not just, I'm going to go out and get them, right?
It should be a two-way street. Let me just clarify that a lot of people look at that in my view, a very overly simplistic way. So let's say John's my client and he wants Jane to give him referrals to prospects. Well, then the way they think about it being a two-way street is, well, we need to introduce Jane to prospects. So John and Jane are referring each other to prospective clients. Let's say John's an attorney and Jane's a CPA. That's too limiting. That's a mistake. If John's only thinking about it that way, he's missing a huge opportunity. We just covered a moment ago the idea that not only can John lay the golden egg for Jane, give her the prospective client that she wants, but John can also introduce Jane to other geese, other referral sources. So keep in mind, everybody, I would say at all times, with the people that are your best referral sources, find ways to introduce them to other people that can also be good referral sources for them. That might not be what they're asking you for. What they'll probably ask you for is, here's the ideal client I want. But remember, we learned this as children. The goose is worth more than the egg. The right goose especially is worth more. I'll give you a metaphor with an example. If I'm an orthodontist and you've got crooked teeth, well, you're a good client for me, a good patient. And that could be valuable, a few $1,000s perhaps, maybe more. But if you're a dentist and you've got a really thriving dental practice and I'm an orthodontist, you could be worth a lot more to me than one patient. So this is an example. I use it as a metaphor to make the point that a goose is more valuable in a lot of circumstances than the egg. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, well, I'll just refer her to prospects and she'll refer me to prospects. And that's back and forth two-way street. But that's an overly simplistic way. You also think about, you can invite her to events. You can make comments on her social media. You can help her co-write an article. You can invite her to events that she can bring her clients to attend. You can go to her event. You can bring people to her events. You can introduce her to bankers and other attorneys and other people within your own practice. There's so many different ways to help a referral source, to motivate them to be a good referral source for you, in addition to the obvious refer them to prospects.
Wow. Such a great perspective and viewpoint and proven practice from your standpoint in helping business owners and individuals develop referral strategies and strengths. Is there anything else you'd like to say that we may not have covered? I think I've completed the questions that I wanted to ask, and I think there's just so much valuable information in this podcast from our Referral Navigator, Jeff Tockman. So
very kind of you, and thank you for inviting me. And there is one other thing I'd love to cover. Let's think about who makes the good goose for you. A good prospect for you, Rick, would be someone who wants to buy or sell a franchise, if I'm not mistaken. But who makes a good referral source for you? Not the client, but a great referral source. Let's name a few categories so your listeners can think, oh, I might not know someone who wants to do a franchise with Rick, but I bet if we add a few categories, they probably know someone that could be a good referral source for you. So who are a few categories that would be good for you as referral sources?
Well, I had a great conversation with a business attorney yesterday.
Perfect. There's one.
And CPAs would be another good one, because they're
full agreement. There's two.
and commercial realtors could be, because
Perfect.
they're
So
running.
for the audience, look
Yeah.
at the kind favor that Rick is doing for all of us by having us on his podcast and creating something of value for everybody to watch. Don't you know a business attorney or a CPA or a commercial realtor? I bet you do. You in the audience. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. So don't wait for Rick to send you a referral or for you to send Rick a referral. Practice what I was just preaching, please. It's worth doing. Send Rick an introduction to a business attorney. Send Rick an introduction to a CPA or a commercial realtor. It's going to be mutually beneficial for you and that professional, and of course, for Rick. So that's all I wanted to make sure to implore the listening audience to do the right thing and introduce you to those types of professionals.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. It's been great having you as a guest, and I know we will keep in touch.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You've been tuning into Is Franchising Right for You with your host, Rick Morgin. You can find more episodes on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.